Hi there, I'm Sue Patterson, and this is the Unschooling Mom to Mom podcast. If you're unschooling, or even if you're just thinking about it, you might be feeling like you're just not doing it right, or like maybe your kid is too different, or too resistant, or too behind. Like maybe you don't have what it takes, or you don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of. No one in your corner saying, yep, that's normal. You're doing just fine. That feeling, it's not just you. That's how most of us feel when we first step off the school conveyor belt. We know deep down that we don't want that one size fits all approach anymore. We want something more individualized, more human, less system focused. We want to center the learner, not create school at home, a setup where we become the teacher and our kid becomes this reluctant student. But even when we know all that, the fear still creeps in. And on some days, it wrestles the steering wheel right out of our hands. So today I want to walk you through 10 common struggles that parents face because just naming them can be a relief. I want to show you just how normal all this is and how much smoother things can feel when you stop blaming yourself and start getting the support that you need. So let's get into it. The first struggle is this fear of academic gaps. We've all thought it. What if they'll never learn math? What if they don't know something they need to know? We're so used to thinking that learning has to follow a set path or a timeline. But unschooling doesn't do school with less structure. It does life with more trust. We know more about our brains than we did back in the day. And we know that humans are curious beings. Curiosity fills those gaps we worry about. And it sticks. Way better than memorized facts ever did. Think of how many years you endured subjects that aren't showing up in your real life. And if you did suddenly need something that you'd forgotten about, you could Google it or find the solution on YouTube. You could fill that gap really quickly. And I know this is a hard one to get past, and it may take you a little while to look at it all closely and accurately. But much of the information that we're told we'd need, we don't. And those things we need, we remember and we use them. That's what happens when you live in the real world. The kids aren't living in the land of the arbitrary expectations called school. They're right here in real life with you. The second struggle is this comparison to traditional schoolers. Sometimes the problem is that we're still measuring their worth based upon comparing and competing. We may say we don't like that school does that so much, but maybe you're doing it without even realizing it. Your niece is reading chapter books. Your neighbor's kid is starting algebra class. And meanwhile, your kid is building Minecraft villages and watching nature documentaries. And comparison ends up being a joy stealer. Your child is learning all the time. It's just not going to look like what you expected. It's not going to look familiar, but learning is happening. The third struggle is pressure that we get from friends and family. You get questions like, is that even legal? And what about college? Pressure from other people can wear you out. It's exhausting to constantly justify yourself, especially when people you love are questioning your choices. We feel more comfortable when everyone in our circle is in sync, but that's just familiarity, not necessarily what's best for you or for your child. You don't owe them an explanation. They don't get a vote. You're building a life that works for your family, and that takes courage, not explanations. The fourth struggle is sometimes letting go of the control. Most of us were raised to believe that learning requires a teacher and a plan and a set of outcomes. So when unschooling invites us to trust and observe and partner, it can feel unmoored. You're not doing nothing. You're stepping beside your child, not in front of them. You're helping them learn the skills to know who they are and how to navigate their way through the world. Learning how to individualize means that you're spending a lot more time observing instead of trying to fit them into a box or trying to sparkle up some standardized curriculum. The fifth struggle has to do with our own old school baggage. It's more internal. We may be our own worst enemy, and certainly we're our own harshest critic, right? You say you trust your child, you want to trust your child, but deep down you have doubts. You're still checking boxes, still watching the clock, still panicking about benchmarks. And this isn't a character flaw, it's conditioning. You spent a lot of years in school. It was a one-size-fits-all approach. that really only aimed for the top of the bell curve. And that's why we talk a lot in unschooling communities about deschooling. It's where we start to unwind that. And just a side note, it's not something that we really finish. New milestones, new situations bring in new worries. What was no big deal at age 7 is a so much bigger deal to us when they're 12. I just want you to realize that undoing all that conditioning can't be done in just a couple of weeks. It's really an ongoing thing, sometimes more pressing, sometimes less so. The sixth struggle has to do with a lack of a clear framework. Without a curriculum, sometimes our days feel aimless. You might ask, am I doing enough? Should I be more structured? Well, unschooling isn't about chaos. It's about connection. And sure, it can be chaotic. And some of us are going to freak out at the chaos a little more than others. Again, it's part of our conditioning. But that structure or framework can show up after the fact, in hindsight. You start seeing how much they're learning when you look back, even if it just felt like a normal day. You can't see all of that dot connection when you're in the thick of it, but when you take a minute to look back, it starts to reveal itself more. Number 7 is about overscheduling, overcompensating. Sometimes we panic and we buy all the things, the science kits, the apps, the subscriptions, thinking we can cover everything. We sign up for camps and classes when they have the slightest interest. I'm not saying don't do those things, but notice what's happening. What's the motivation for it? Overscheduling can sometimes be overcompensating for something that we haven't worked through yet. Maybe we have little voices in our heads saying that they need to be in a room with other kids their age. Or maybe it's more about feeling relieved or happy to let some other system shoulder the load here, even just for a couple of hours. Sometimes moms seem to think they have bragging rights for a packed schedule or a busy kid. Unschooling isn't about stuffing their schedules. It's about trusting that interests will emerge, and when they do, you'll be ready to support them. You may just need to unpack why you're leaning towards wanting to fill up that calendar so much. Number 8 is the decompression phase. Especially after school or a more strict homeschooling approach, kids often collapse into what can look like laziness. Lots of screen time, staying up late, rejecting anything with a whiff of being educational. This isn't regression, it's recovery. Give them time. You'll be amazed at what bubbles up when the pressures melt away. It may take a little while. Don't expect them to change just because you're changing. They may need a little while to see if you really mean what you say. I always tell my coaching group that your job is to learn how to deschool, and their job is to learn how to manage all this freedom. This can be a messy path for both parents and kids, but you're moving in the right direction. More connection, more relevant learning, more partnership. The 9th struggle has to do with loneliness. Maybe your friends don't get it. Maybe the local homeschooling group is too academic or too rigid. It can feel like you're the only one in this wilderness, but you're not. There are other families out there doing this too, and finding them makes all the difference. Luckily, we have a lot of online options. We have a wonderful collection of unschooling parents, all at different points along the path in my Creating Confidence membership group. You can come for a month or stay longer for the support. The group has existed since 2016, and we're here to support you on this journey. You really don't have to feel so isolated. And the last struggle for my list of 10 is this fear about the future. Will they be ready for college, for work, for life? And this one is big, but the truth is unschooling creates resourceful, curious, adaptable people. People who know how to learn, how to solve problems, how to advocate for themselves. They're not waiting to be told what to do. That's the real future prep. School conditioned us to always look towards the future, never really living in the moment. So it's not surprising that we still do this. Plus, as parents, we're not always confident that we know what we're doing, especially if we step off the beaten path and we're doing it a little differently from everybody else. But conquering fear is all about pulling each fear out into the light and examining it one at a time. I have a lot of tools to help you, from ebooks and guides to courses, whatever works best for you to tackle these fears. So if any of this sounds familiar, Please know that you are not broken. Your kids are not broken. You're just in the middle of figuring out a better way. You can do this alone or with others. Honestly, most people are successful in unschooling when they have a handful of others who support their ideas and brainstorm with them. If you could use some help sorting through your fears or just someone to talk it through with, you can set up a private coaching call with me. We'll look at your specific situation and I'll help you find your footing. Or if you're ready for ongoing support, come join the Creating Confidence membership group. Inside, we've got resources and conversations, coaching calls, and encouragement from people who get it because they're living it just like you. All the links are in the description and the show notes are over at the blog. You're not behind. You're building something better. So I'll talk to you next time.